Well. You know, Zach, we got a quiz today. I want you to put your thinking cap on. Have you seen a dollar bill before? Yes, okay, good. And you've seen a quarter before, too. You know who's on the dollar bill and on the quarter? Who? Yeah, George Washington, you're smart. Well, this is a picture of George Washington before he really became famous and made it onto the dollar bill. This is a painting about George Washington in the year 1778. Now remember the Declaration of Independence. We celebrate 4th of July and beginning of the nation, 1776. That's when we said, we're going to be free. And then England came over, and they were getting taxes from us, all kind of stuff. And England says, well, I don't think so. And they sent a bunch of army over here to try to hold us into their clutches. So we raised the military, and 2 years later, after the Declaration of Independence, this is a picture of George Washington. He's next to his noble steed right there, his horse, and you'll notice the ground, if you look, that's snow on the ground, and this is Valley Forge. That's up in Pennsylvania near Philadelphia. And things looked really bad. It was really cold. They were just about out of their supplies. The people were hungry. The soldiers were hungry. It was bitter cold, and they were freezing, and all kind of bad things going on. And you know what George Washington, you would find him doing? Right there. He's praying. He's praying. And he was earnest in prayer. Matter of fact, things got bad, and he called all of the chaplains, all of the preachers that were in the army, and he called them, and he says, you need to have everybody praying and have a special day of prayer and fasting and giving thanks to God for his blessings and to help us in this time. And that was a pivotal moment where things turned around for good. All during that beginning war with England, things always were challenging, things always became, but Washington always could be found praying and having his chaplains pray and thanking God for his blessings all the way. And you know what? Because he did those things, God honored his prayer, and we became free. Well, after he gave up being a general, he became the selection of the people to be the first president of the United States. Did you know that? You probably did. George Washington, a great prayer. They inaugurated him in New York City. That's where they make the salsa. New York City. That's an old commercial. But anyway, he got selected to be the president. And he gave his inaugural address, and as soon as it was over, he walked down the street, and there he went to the St. Paul's Chapel, a little chapel right near where he got inaugurated, and the first thing he did as president after giving his initial speech, what do you think he did? He prayed. He went to that St. Paul's Chapel in New York and had a time of prayer for his new nation. And you know, God never forgot that. In my lifetime, and probably before you were born, I would think, there was an attack on New York City. We had two really tall towers, the Twin Towers in New York, and they ran planes into them, and it all came tumbling down, and the area around there was all devastated because of everything blowing up there, and all these buildings were destroyed all around, and this chapel, St. Paul's Chapel, was right near where that happened, within a block or two, and all these other buildings were destroyed, but you know what? Not one scratch on that chapel where our first president, George Washington, started our country with prayer. Not one scratch. God remembered that this nation began, and the act of the first president was to pray and to give thanks to God and to ask his blessing on this country. God remembers when people pray. So I just want us to give thanks to God for all his blessings to our country, that we began as a people of prayer. We came to this country so that people could pray freely. And God has never forgotten. And I pray that he never will. Thanks for coming up and for this little history moment for us to share together. See you next week.